Hello and welcome to the Healing Insight Podcast, episode 34, with me, Sarah Hunt.
And me, Jez Hunt.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It's lovely to be here again, and got a nice sunny afternoon, although it's a bit chillier than it has been recently. How's things with you, Jay?
Yeah, autumn's hit up here as well. So
I do
it's
love autumn though, because I just love the colours of the leaves as they're changing, and yeah, it's a nice, colourful time of year.
interesting how it seems to have shifted season very quickly this year. It was only
Mm,
3 or 4 weeks ago and it was still t-shirts out in and shorts outside, whereas now it's in a very short space of time, leaves on the ground. You're starting to get the, not frosts yet, or not here, but we are getting the fog on the windscreens in the morning when the temperatures overnight are obviously dropping, and like the mist
mm.
on the windscreen and stuff. So, and getting dew on the grass. So it's definitely shifted. Um,
Yes,
just
it
a quick
has.
notice: we have a little man looking in on our cool.
Yes, we do. I've not found him a spot on the wall yet, but
Oh,
he's there
so
watching my healing dog,
so for
Jester.
listeners, I'm just referring to the painting of Jester that I did for Sarah a few weeks ago. She now has it, and he is now in the background of the camera that I'm looking at. So he's watching over what we're doing. Bless him.
Yes. So
Yes.
um, today, what are we doing today?
Well,
We're
last
going to look at being reflective.
yes, last session was a little bit went a bit deep in some areas. So I think being reflective is quite an apt topic for today. With being reflective about balance, like we talked about last time, but just being reflective in general and the pros and cons of it and the purpose behind it, maybe, or how to use it effectively, should we say?
Yeah, I think being reflective is a useful skill to have, and it can certainly help you to understand situations and also to help you understand lessons that you're perhaps needing to learn or have learned, and so changes that you perhaps need to make so that you don't repeat the same thing over again, because if you do the same thing all the time, you'll get the same um the same what's the word I want? It's
Results.
gone. Results, thank you. Each time. So if you want to be able to move forward, you can't keep repeating the same thing over and over again. You've got to look at what needs to be changed, and change can be very subtle, or it can be quite a big thing. But taking that time to reflect on a situation or an experience can give you a lot of insight, and I think it's insight that's important. And we talked a bit last time about being careful not to be over analytical, and when we're being reflective, again, we need to be careful that we're not being over analytical with something that we've experienced, but equally being reflective can just highlight things to us and give us insight about how we've dealt with something, so that we can put changes into place, perhaps, that we need to, should we come across a similar situation at a later date.
Yeah. I think the thing with being reflective that can be a danger, and like you've already sort of alluded to this anyway, is that we can end up going down the rabbit hole too much, so to speak, to get too into trying to find the answer rather than just allowing the answers to come. So we can go, so, okay, if I'm reflecting from the heart, then I'm staying open to whatever thoughts come up that relate to that situation. So the reflections. Whereas if I
Mm.
go into a reflective state in my head, then I am looking for specific things. So I am then guiding or trying to guide the answers that I get out. No, not guide's not the right word. I'm limiting.
Influence.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to influence. I'm limiting the possibilities of what I'm likely to see because I'm focused on. I have to find the solution. I have to find the answer. Why did that X happen? I have to find the answer rather than, okay, that's interesting that that happened. What was that about then? And coming to it
Yeah.
from that approach.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when you come from that kind of approach, you're like you're saying, you're not limiting the insight that you might get from reflecting on that situation.
Yes.
Um, so then that means that you can tune into yourself, and as with everything, we need to be going inward. You can tune into yourself and ask, what was it? Why did that happen? What is it I need to understand about this? What is it I need to know that will help me to progress forward on my healing journey? And I think that's really important to understand is it's not about analyzing the situation. It's about going within and asking, what did I need to learn here? Why did this happen? What is it I need to be aware of? Is it my stuff or is it somebody else's? You know, if it's something that's involved other people. Um, because it's very easy if we're not careful to overanalyze something and, like you said, look for specific answers, and there may not be a specific answer. It may be that we just need to have an awareness
Mm-hmm.
of what happened and the steps that led to that happening, so that should we come across something similar in or experience something similar at a future date, we have that awareness so that we go, hold on a minute, do I need to look at this differently this time?
Yeah. Yeah.
And reflection also is a really good way of just recognizing and taking ownership of stuff that's ours as well. Because it's very easy to look at something, oh, well, that wasn't my fault. But actually, when you reflect on it and you listen and you go inward with it, you can go, you know what, that bit probably was my fault. And you know, in any given situation, where there's especially where there's more than one person involved, it's usually not just one person's fault. It's a series of things from all involved that creates that experience. So reflection can give you the opportunity to take ownership of something that's yours, as well as recognize where it's not your stuff and therefore you shouldn't be taking it on board.
Yeah. And if it's not your stuff, then let it go. Just,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I'm reflecting.
yes,
This is interesting because like you said, I think it was in the last episode, like you said, about being over analytical. And I think the thing with reflection, like you've said, is it's not about being over analytical. It's not about analyzing to the nth degree and trying to understand everything that happened and how that relates to life, the universe, and everything. It's just looking at a situation, and these could be what a class says good situations or bad situations, because there's a learning in everything. Looking at the situation and just saying, that's interesting. So what else could I learn from this? What else, or what do I need to learn if there's a lesson? But what else could I learn that I can take forward in terms of understanding or possible ways of dealing with something in the future, rather than trying to work out, you know, I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe the universe does this, that, and the other, and that's happened. So I don't make sense of that. Why has that happened? Why I don't. So what's this all about? What's the lesson? What's the lesson? What's the lesson? Because, like I was saying, I think this clarifies what I was saying a little bit better. We can end up looking for looking for a particular answer or trying to find a particular answer that isn't there because we've
Mm.
influenced it with what we're thinking, rather than just staying open to, okay, whatever I need to learn from this situation, I'm open to learning it. Please give me some form of insight or indicator, sign that of what it is I need to learn, rather than, oh well, they've said that to me, so that, and life's a mirror, so they must be reflecting that back to me, so it must be that.
Mm.
We've talked about mirrors and reflection, reflecting things back within us when things
Yeah,
happen. So,
absolutely, absolutely. But it's I feel it's gaining insight and understanding as to why something has happened may just be all that we need, rather than necessarily, like you say, pinpointing certain things, or delving in and looking for something that perhaps isn't there. Um, and I think reflection is just a good way of looking at ourselves again, um, and making sure that we're happy with where we're at on
mhm,
our journey of self discovery and our healing journey. Um, and sometimes it's me, sometimes it's about what could I have done better? And that's not then being hard on yourself and what have you, because that would be very easy if you went into sort of head mode and started picking it apart and what have you. But sometimes you just need to go, okay, this didn't quite go as I expected it to. What could I have done better? And just asking that and listening to yourself, listening to your heart, you can gain insight from your intuition, as to maybe um, what maybe you could have done that would have made things better, different. Um, so I think it's important not to get too embroiled in things, but taking that step back, reflecting on it. And when you reflect as well, it's a lot easier to respond to things. If you don't reflect on something, you can find yourself in a place of reaction, and then create you can create more havoc. But if you're um but if you take a moment to reflect on something, it's a lot easier to respond because you're taking that step back. You're taking a moment to go, okay, what's actually going on here? Why has this happened? What is it I need to understand? What is it I need to know, um, to understand myself better? Because really everything is about understanding yourself better, to then be able to respond to the situation or move forward in a way that is heart led and healthy.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Good way to,
It,
sorry, as I say, for the listeners, a good way to reflect if you're not sure how to, I mean, you can sit and just let it mull over in your head, but a good way to do it is also journaling. I mean,
yeah, that was just popped into me actually. Journaling's a great way to reflect on things, but again, it's careful not to be over analytical, but just jotting down what happened and reading it back through can just be enough, can't it, for you to
yeah,
go, oh, I needed to see that, I needed to be aware of this. This is what I need to be aware of for moving forward, and 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 not beating yourself up. I think that's really important. And I'm very good at beating myself up at times. So here speaks the voice of experience. Um, but just taking that step back and reflecting gives you that opportunity to grow and learn without beating yourself up.
well, as you said before, experiences are just experiences. They're neither good nor bad. It's just an experience that we then, based on our values, our beliefs, our experiences, wherever we are on our journey, we then associate a feeling or connect that experience with feelings and things we've had in the past. So we're the ones that turn it into a good or bad experience, if you see what I mean. So
Mm.
so it's not about beating yourself up. It's about learning from it. There's a lesson. So whether it's whatever the experience is, there is potentially a lesson there, or something, or an awareness, or a something positive we can take from it,
Mm.
either to stop a similar event happening in the future. So, if we have a habit of attracting the same type of person to us, and we eventually get that learning, then we, it can help us to stop attracting or allowing those types of people into our life again. So, for example, someone who's been in a controlling relationship and ends up in another controlling relationship and ends up in another controlling relationship, hopefully, when they've learned the lesson, they would be able to see the signs before getting into another relationship that turns into another controlling relationship. So,
Yeah, it's I think sometimes we reflect on things on a subconscious level as well, don't we?
mm-hmm,
So we kind of, yeah, it kind of just happens, and then something will happen, and I suppose it's because we store those memories as well, of the experience. And so, like with your controlling relationship, there'll be things that go, whoa, hold on a minute, because of the experiences and the memories that we've held on to, that will go, whoa, hang on a minute. And then that might be an opportunity to reflect on what's happening now, because it will then trigger information related to what happened before,
mm-hmm.
which will then make the person hopefully a little bit more wary and think, hold on a minute, am I going down a path here that's going to take me into a similar situation? Or, and if so, I need to do something about this. Um, but I think, sometimes we kind of, we may not reflect on something until we get a similar experience, and then we kind of go, oh, whoa, hold on a minute. If I look back at what happened there, now I'm being shown that it's something similar. So we don't always reflect perhaps when we should. We
Mm-hmm.
maybe reflect when we find ourselves being drawn down a path with a similar experience.
So going back to, so then reflection is most beneficial when we make it part of a daily habit, or a regular habit. It doesn't have to be daily, but it's the sort of thing where at the end of the day, we could just do a journaling exercise on what's good that's happened, what's bad that's happened, what lessons can I learn from today. So it doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily
you
have to be
could.
about,
Yeah, absolutely. You could. Yeah, absolutely. You could do that.
because then you're just processing experiences and open to possibilities of lessons, if there's anything there, and there might not be, that's fine, without it necessarily building to such a point where it becomes a big dramatic event, although obviously those you're going to do as well. But so then, yeah, you see, if from my own personal experience, certainly in the last few years, I reflect I reflect frequently. I was going to say quite a lot, but I don't mean I analyse stuff a lot, not like I used to. But I do reflect a lot. At the end of each day, what's good, what could have gone better, rather than what's bad, but what could have gone better. Is there anything I can do or a lesson I can take from this moving forwards? And I find that I'm when an event happens, particularly if it's one that triggers me, then I will go into a reflective mode, even if it might only be a few seconds. It might not be it doesn't mean I'm going to sit down and journal for half an hour, but it might only be a few seconds, but go into a reflective mode of, whoa, hang on a second, what's going on? Okay, now I'm going to respond or react, not react, but I'm going to now respond to it. So I tend to respond more than react
Yeah.
completely now.
And I think if you have an awareness of the need for reflection to gain insight, then it helps you to be able to respond rather than react to something.
Yes.
So really, we need to make reflection, which is different from analyzing, but reflection to gain insight part of our part of our routine in a way, something that we do regularly, so that we keep ourselves in a state of balance, and that kind of ties in nicely with what we were doing with the previous session about being in a state of balance. And when we're reflecting, it helps us to stay in a state of balance because we gain insight and understanding of a situation without lots of drama being involved, without extremes of emotion being involved. So when we're being reflective, we should be doing it from the heart center. We need to be doing it from the heart center rather than from the head.
Yeah.
And that way, then our deep inner knowing is triggered for us so that we gain a lot of insight and understanding, help us to understand ourselves better and to help us to be able to deal with situations from a more balanced point of view rather than from an extreme because we've gone into our heads and started to overanalyze the situation.
And one way, what something's popped into mind, one way you can do that is by taking like a third party position. So,
Yeah,
for example, if you think of a reporter reporting on something on the news, so I don't know, a building that's on fire, then the reporter's standing there saying, I'm standing here in wherever, and the building behind me is on fire, and everyone got out safely, and blah, blah. They're just stating facts. They're just going through
mm,
the facts of what they can see, the key points of what's going on. They're not in fear of their life. They're not worried. They're not stressing because it's that they're just stating what they can see and disconnecting or disassociating from any potential emotion with it. And if we
mm,
can do that and look at things like that, then it becomes more objective because we're just looking at circumstances rather than allowing any pre-programming or programmed emotion or programmed emotional response from being triggered and then reacting to the emotion of it rather than looking at it is for what it is.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important to look at it for what it is because it's very easy, isn't it, to see more than there is
Yeah, I mean,
if we're not careful. Um,
it's like the cliched
and
argument scenario with a newly married couple where an argument ensues because somebody's squeezed a toothpaste tube from the middle rather than the end. I mean, a massive argument comes from something that's actually so trivial. It's not about the argument, hasn't actually, that was just the trigger point. It wasn't about the toothpaste
mm,
tube at all, it was other stuff. But it can be disproportionate if we allow it by taking that step back, by taking a reporter's view or looking at it as like an external observer and disassociating from the emotion of it, then
yeah,
we can see it for what it is and then make an informed reaction, a informed response to
yeah,
it rather than just being triggered and allowing the emotion of whatever it was that's happened in the past that's built up and all these things that our brains link together, just to allow all of that emotion to flood out and blow things out of proportion.
yeah, absolutely. And when you take that kind of stance with it that you've just described, then you are in that place of it's not good, it's not bad. It just is, because you've taken the emotion out of the situation. You're just looking at the bare bones, the bare facts of what's actually happened, so that you can gain insight and understanding rather than get embroiled in it.
Hmm.
Um, and I do feel it is important wherever possible, and it's not always possible, but wherever possible, to kind of take that step back and go, okay, it is what it is. Right, let's just have a look at this. What is it I need to learn from it? What is it I'm being shown? What do I need to understand? Rather than, oh my God, this has happened, and getting yourself caught up in a drama situation that doesn't need to be a drama, because then that just triggers other things. Whereas when you're taking that step back, you're being reflective, you're taking the emotion out of it, you're taking the drama out of it, and so that gives you the opportunity to to listen and go within and discover why it happened, and gain that insight and understanding that you need. Whereas if you allow yourself to get drawn into the drama, then you'll miss the insight and understanding that actually you need to understand, or you need to know about, from that situation.
Yeah. Another interesting, quite in-depth topic today, like last week.
Yeah.
Please, can I make a request? Can we have something a little less thinky next time?
Sorry,
No, no,
I didn't expect it to be quite so thinky.
no, it's absolutely
but
fine. It is
but
what it is. So,
it's interesting, isn't it? How, and for listeners, we don't make notes. We just go with the topic, what feels right for the week that we're recording, and it's interesting to see how we're taken along a path when we're having these discussions. We're not, we haven't got this planned. It is what it is. It comes as it comes.
yeah,
And it's an interesting way to explore different topics, to gain insight and understanding on about everybody's um, self learning journey of self discovery, and journey of healing. So yeah, I love the way that we just explore things like this, and you know just take from it what resonates with you, the listener, but also for each of us what resonates. And as I'm sure you've discovered, on our journey with our podcast, we don't always agree, but that's okay, because
yeah.
it just gives lots of um, different understanding and insight to help everybody, really, to to question things and to make discoveries from themselves.
And I think
So
that's a key important point. Is this is just our opinion. This is just what comes up for
absolutely,
us based on what we know on our values, beliefs, experiences, as we have said, and our own healing journey. And I think that's a key point. Is you've got to find out what's right for you. You've got to go with what resonates for you and what feels
yes,
right to you. And something that I say, or something that Sarah says, something that you say, might not resonate with a listener. And that's absolutely fine, because there is no
mm,
right or wrong here in terms of my opinion or your opinion or anyone else's opinion. All that matters is that we follow the path of what feels right to us.
absolutely. And if we stimulate you, the listener, to question things and to do your own research and to go within yourself, um, then that's what's important. Um, as Jeremy says, this is just our opinions based on our experiences, and it hopefully just gives people some insight into things, and perhaps makes you question things for yourself, and look at things from a different angle, which can be very healing in itself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again.
So, yes, thank you as well. And until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.